Good day. In this video, I will demonstrate how you can use Digicam control to do some focus stacking. So Digicam control is a software that allows you to tether your camera to your computer and control it via this software. And one of the neat tricks you can do is you can take a series of photos that you can then use in a focus stacking software. So right now I've got my camera connected to this software, and as you can see, the aperture is set to 5.6. This will not give me enough depth of field to get everything in focus from back to front, and so I will try to do some focus stacking. So the subject that I'm going to photograph is just a pair of shoes, and I would like the subject to be sharp from the tip of this shoe all the way to the back of at least the same shoe, or maybe even that little black thing that's sticking out there. Of course, you could stop down to f16, f22, or whatever is needed to get everything in focus, or you could move the camera further away from the subject to get more depth of field, or you could switch to a shorter focal length. But in this case, I'm just going to do focus stacking and show you how that's done in this software. So let me first focus on the shoe. So the focus sensor is actually just in the middle of the photo. So it's now focused on the shoelaces. Let me take one photograph and close live view again. And so if I zoom into 100%, as you can see, the shoelace is sharp. I need to wait until it renders. But the tip of the shoe, as you can see, is not sharp at all. And if I move to the back of the shoe, you will also see that this is also not sharp at all. And this is not sharp at all either. And the edge of the shoe here is blurry as well. So let's do some focus stacking. So to do focus stacking in Digicam Control, you have to use the live view interface. I like to start by just auto-focusing, which will focus somewhere on the object. And then you need to bring the focus point forward to the nearest part of the subject. And you can do that with these controls. So you have a small step towards the camera, a medium step, or a big step. So let's try the medium step. That's probably enough. It's not very easy to see because of the resolution. The resolution is a little bit low, admittedly, but that's apparently something that the software developers cannot change. So just to be safe, I'm going to take 3 additional small steps towards the camera. Then you have to lock the nearest point. And then I'm going to move the focus point back to the center. So I had 3 small clicks or steps, and then 1 medium step. So that should bring me back to the center of the shoe. And you can see that this is still not sharp. So let's go back a medium step. I think the edge now looks sharp. I'm not sure about this part yet. So let's add a few small steps until it looks, you can zoom in. Whoops, that's a bit too much. I cannot move this, I think, so I cannot zoom in too much and just look at this. But I suppose this is probably sharp. Yeah, I think that was sharper than what this is giving me. So let's lock it here. And then the next step, which I like to do, is to bring the focus point back to the nearest point so that the lens is now ready to go from the front to the back of the subject. And then you can choose between focus stacking advanced and focus stacking simple. I always use the advanced interface. where you basically have three parameters to work with: the number of photos, the focus step, and the wait time. The number of photos and the focus step, these two parameters work in conjunction with one another. So here you can see that you're about to take 290 steps, and that of course is 145 multiplied by 2. I have found that anything in terms of focus step under 10 doesn't do anything. My lens just doesn't make such small steps. So I need to bring that to, I think 10, at least 10 is a number I know works. But even with 10 steps, I'm about to take 29 photos. I think that's a little bit over the top. So let me increase that to maybe 20, focus step of 20, 15 photographs. You have to play a little bit with this. So if the focus steps are too large, maybe you get like little gaps where it's still not sharp. So you need to have a little bit of overlap in terms of depth of field, let's say. So it is always safer to have smaller steps, but then the price to pay is that you get a lot more photographs to process. So you have to find some kind of a balance, and that depends that's basically experience. If you're doing real macro photography, you would need very small focus steps and a lot of photographs. But for a product this size, I think a focus step of 20 should be good enough. So the next parameter, or the last one actually, is the wait time. So that's just the amount of seconds that the software will wait between two shots. And you can increase that or decrease that. If you want to get it over and done with as soon as you can decrease it to 1 second, which should give your flash, if you're using a flash, plenty of time to recycle and be ready for the next shot. So I'm going to start the sequence, and then I'm going to just fast forward this video, or just cut to the part where we are almost done, so you don't have to sit and watch this entire sequence evolve. Okay, so the focus stacking has finished. So we can click OK and close the live view. And right now I'm in NX Studio just to look at the raw files. This first photo that you're looking at was the first shot we took, where we just had the shoelaces in focus, but nothing else. The tip of the shoe was out of focus, and the back of the shoe was out of focus as well. And then we have the start of the focus stacking sequence. So the first shot is actually not in focus at all. So it means that the focus point was in front of the shoe, which is good for safety. So let's go and find the first photo that is acceptably sharp. I think this one is probably good. So I'm going to just give this 1 star so I know where it begins. And then of course, as we go through the sequence, the focus will shift towards the back of the shoe. And you can see that after a couple of shots, the back of the shoe should also become in focus. So this is almost perfectly in focus. This is now in focus, and probably the edge is also perfectly in focus, as you can see. Let's go back a little bit more, because this black thing is still not in focus. So let's go a little bit further, and I need all of them. So from 0005 all the way to 0017. I'm not going to edit these photos, but you could, of course, change the white balance, boost the colors, do some cropping or rotating or whatever. I'm not going to do anything like that. I'm just going to select all of them and then export them to a folder. And of course, I'm using NX Studio, but you could be using Lightroom, Capture One, whatever. So I'm going to just output them as JPEGs. I've got 13 files, 100%. I'm not going to change the resolution, and I'm going to select a folder. Actually, I'm going to create a new folder, just call it export, and we're good to go. So now we will be exporting 13 photographs, which we can then pick up in Helicon Focus. So this is the software that I'll be using to do the actual focus stacking, so to combine all the photographs into a single photograph. This is not free software, so Digicam Control was free and even open source software. This is not free software, but you get a trial version and you can use the software for up to 30 days without having to pay anything. So you can give this a try if you want to. So I'm going to open the images and I'm going to find, hopefully, my folder. So here we are. Let's open them. Oops, a little bit zoomed in. So here you have the source images, 13 images, and just quickly verify that they're in sequence, but usually that is okay. So it starts with photograph 5, 6, 7, 8, and I don't see any gaps or any photos that are not in the correct sequence. So this software expects the images to be in a certain sequence, so from front to back or back to front, but not in a random sequence. Then you can select method A, method B, or method C. I find that method B usually works best, so this is the first method that I try, but if it fails for some reason, you can always try a different method, or you can play with the radius and the smoothing. Honestly, I find that for these types of photographs, method B with the defaults works fine. So I'm just going to click render and take a look at what is happening. And Helicon Focus is really super fast. You can also do focus stacking in Photoshop, but I find that this is way faster. So let's zoom in. I don't know whether I'm at 100% yet, but it doesn't matter. So the front of the shoe is very sharp. This shoe is also very sharp. Let me just look at the back of the shoe, also extremely sharp. Everything looks to be very, very sharp. So I'm very happy with this result. You can see some artifacts if you zoom in really, really close. You can see here is a little bit of a smudging. So if you don't want that, you can try a different method or a different radius and different smoothing factor. Honestly, I'll be resizing this photo anyway to a fairly small size, and I don't think anyone who wants to buy these shoes will be zooming in to 600% to see that there is a bit of a strange thing going on here. But if it has to be perfect, of course, you can play with these methods, or you can do that in Photoshop and just retouch it. So I think there is also a little bit of a smudging going on here in this area, but again, I can't tell, oh, I'm at 400%, so this is really beyond pixel peeping. So for me, this will work, so I'll just click save. The default file name that is proposed is fine by me. You can save it as a TIFF, a JPEG, or a DNG. I'll just go for a JPEG for now. And there we go. So we have, or we should have in our export folder, a new file with a completely sharp image from front to back. And I think that looks great. Now, of course, for e-commerce photos, maybe this is a little bit overkill. Maybe you just want to stop down to f16 and sharpen the result a little bit to get rid of the diffraction effect. But if you want to do it like this, I think this is a very solid option, and Digicam Control in combination with Helicon Focus can really be a good combination. So If you have any comments or questions, feel free to write them down in the comment section and I will sure have a look at it. All right, with that, thank you very much for watching and see you the next time. Bye bye.